Yo, what's going on, everybody? Today is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Bitcoin block height 924, 178. All right. 924, 178. Rather, get a swig of this hot chocolate. It's freezing outside. Transaction fees up a little bit. 3 sats per VByte, low priority. 4 sats per VByte, medium priority. 5 sats per VByte, high priority. Just over 51,000 unconfirmed transactions in this mempool. Bitcoin USD price. Maybe I should lead. Maybe I should lead with the price. I lead with the block height, the fees, the transactions, unconfirmed transactions. There's other stuff I should probably do too on this one. Hash rate. There's other boards I got to look into it. But probably leading with the price, maybe. I might try that up. All right, so the USD price of Bitcoin dipping over the last 7 days. Take a look here. Right now it's sitting at 93,322 US pieces of paper. But 7-day low dipped all the way down to 89K. Bitcoin went all the way down to 89K on the 18th. That's today. In the morning, 1:30 a.m. In the morning. When all you dudes was sleeping. Bitcoin dipped to 89K. But anywhere around here is a good price. Cheap price. You're trading unlimited US dollars that somebody creates for free for energy money that requires proof of work to create. It's a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer trade a few years ago. It's still a no-brainer trade, even though, of course, it costs you more pieces of paper, more US digital dollars to get some Bitcoin. But still, right now you're getting 1,073 Satoshis per dollar. So that's pretty good. And I was underestimating this a little bit, because I was seeing this sats per dollar. And I think when it was like 120K, the Bitcoin price, it was like 700, maybe 800 sats per dollar. And I was like, that's not a big deal. It's only a couple hundred sats. But then I was like, oh, snap. I've been miscalculating it that whole time. Because that's per dollar. So if it's let's say it's 250 Satoshis difference, right? It was about 800 then. Now it's 170. Maybe it was like 750, whatever it was. We'll just say 250 Satoshi difference. So for every $1,000, it's 250,000 Satoshis. So damn, yeah. I was kind of underestimating that, man, I kind of screwed that up. Just thinking whatever. What I should have did, of course, hindsight, right? Hindsight is always 2020, as they say. I should have just saved up my cash year to date and just skipped May through October. So May, June, July, August, September, October. So 6 months. And then just made a lump sum buy right here, down here, 90K. But of course, you're always going to be able to say that. I shouldn't even think that. I guess we just can't help it to think it. But you're always going to be able to say that. If you look back and be like, oh, I should have did this. So, you just never know. You know, when it was pumping up to 100K, going to 120K, it was like, all right, we're taking off, dude. 120K is cheap. All right, 120K. And it still is cheap. But Bitcoin, though, throughout its history, it does gift you with opportunities to get back in if you're patient. It does gift you the opportunity. The only thing is, sometimes it doesn't gift you the opportunity and it could just go way up and you're waiting for a retrace, pull back, and it just never happens. So, I don't know. I figured this was going to happen, though, as far as we'll have like a double top type of thing where Bitcoin goes up. I don't even know if this is a double top, but I think that what's going to happen is Bitcoin's going to go up. Everyone's going to think that's the top. Then it's going to crash. Everyone's going to think it's the bear market, especially with timing, because we're all used to November, December, 4-year cycle. That's the peak. Even though the previous cycle in 2021, it wasn't. It was like summertime, but it had a double top. It was like 68 and then 69K. But still, I don't think it was later in the year. I'm not sure. But the general consensus is we're all waiting for Bitcoin to top around Thanksgiving, Christmas time, November, December at the 5-year mark. I think it is, the 4-year cycle, whatever it is, but the year after the halving. And I figured it would pump up. Maybe it still will. I still do think that this will probably happen where it pumps up maybe to like 250K. And then it crashes down. But now looking at it, it's probably not going to do that. I'm sitting here trying to make guesstimates, but this is the thing about it. You can never know. You can never know with Bitcoin. That's why I can't beat myself up over 6 months with the over 100K. Be like, oh, I should have sat on the sidelines for those 6 months and just did a lump sum because now it's 90K. You can't think like that. Even though I can't help it. I can't help myself but think like that, but you just got to get in. All this strategy that you're trying to do, trying to time the market, man, it doesn't really work out. It doesn't usually work out. So I try not to do it. But then when you get gifts like this, you're like, damn, I should have had that cash ready to go. I could have got a lot more sats. A lot more Satoshis, a lot more Bitcoin, but whatever. You can't do it. But anyway, what I think is going to happen, which nobody knows, I don't know, just a random guess, because Bitcoin's going to fake people out. If it was so easy, everybody would do it. If it was just a lock to go to $1 million, then everyone would do it. That ain't how it's going to be. It's going to shake everybody out. It's going to be a wild ass ride. So we have timing on the side where everyone's used to the timing, the 4-year cycle. 2017, 2021, and here we are again, 2025, where everyone's expecting this to be the top. November, December timeframe. So wouldn't it make sense to pump up the price of Bitcoin a little bit, make everyone think that that's the top, crash it, make everyone really think that the top is in, only to print a bunch of cash in 2026, the politicians and everybody, who has legal authority to create cash, they print a bunch of digital cash for free. They just click buttons. They create this cash into existence. And then, now you got a bunch of cash competing for everything. Bitcoin, housing, food, like consumer goods, it seems like they go up after. They take a little bit of time. So, but the big, I don't know, the investment things, homes, Bitcoin, gold, stocks, even all those type of things. Seems like people get that cash real quick and then boom, they slap it into these liquid assets. And then the food, the gas, things like that. It takes a little bit more time to like disperse out and for those to go up in price and inflation. So we'll probably just have that same thing happen again, where a tons of cash comes into the system and Bitcoin just goes crazy. I don't see why we won't be talking about $1 million Bitcoin this cycle. I don't know if we'll get to $1 million Bitcoin, but there we go. This cycle. What's this cycle? Nobody knows. The cycles are broken. Or are they? Or is the top in? What's the all-time high? 126K is the top in. And now we have another 3-4 years, whatever it is, of just bear market. I doubt it. And that would suck, kind of, it would suck on one end because you want to buy things, if you want to buy things. But it's good on another end because you could just accumulate. You could just accumulate Bitcoin more and more. So you got to hang with it. It's like, you're there, you're existing, you're in the ocean. Like, yo, I'm riding these waves, dude. I ain't getting out. A big wave comes, no waves are coming, there ain't nothing to ride. Okay, I ain't getting out. I'm here. I'm in the fucking ocean. I'm fucking swimming. Yeah, the waves suck today. Waves are good today. It doesn't matter. The waves are super big. The waves are super small. I'm still swimming. I'm not getting out. So you just got to ride it. You just got to ride the waves, whatever it is. Can't really change it. Can't really do much about it. It's just, do you like the product? Do you like the specs of Bitcoin? Do you like the properties? Then, you should get it. Yeah, of course, the cheaper you get it is better, but you like the properties of it, so get it. And then if you really compare the dollar versus Bitcoin properties, and you're like, yo, no price is too much. No price is too much for Bitcoin. Bitcoin could be $10 million and it would still be cheap. It would still be worth it because it is energy money that requires proof of work that is limited in amount, and you can hold it yourself without anyone in the middle. So those 3 properties are massive. That's crazy properties. What are we talking about? How are not more people on this? Because people just don't know. It sounds crazy. Like, what? Huh? And the competitor, the dollar, people don't know about that either. What is the dollar? I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it did. I didn't know that it was unlimited. I didn't know that it was free to create, that people would just make them digitally. I didn't know any of that. I thought, people had all these rules in place and everything was on the up and up. Smart people were in control. Yeah, well, they are smart, probably, the people in control, but they're still people. They're still humans. So they're tempted. Think about it. Just think about you. If you had legal authority to create dollars for free, well, what would you do? First of all, it's immense pressure. Think about all the people around you, friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, just people that you work with, on your nuts all damn day, every day, asking you to create dollars for their cause, selling you on some shit that they want. Hey, we got to do this. Let's do 3 billion for these kids, for these grandmoms, for these kittens, for this, for that, for this country. This is messed up. So everyone's in your ear pressuring you to print cash. And then think about it from you. You're like, hey, I could do a lot of good in this world. Why shouldn't I? Why shan't I? And then you justify why you should create all these dollars for free. Not realizing that you're stealing from people that are working for these dollars. You're stealing their labor. That's messed up. So you got to get in. You got to buy assets. That's why everybody buys real estate, businesses, collectibles, whatever, cards, art, gold, silver. People just buy anything that you can't create for free because the dollar is that bad. You create it for free. That's how bad it is. And it's so crazy. Money is something that's so crazy that we take it for granted. We use it every day. We've been using it for our whole lives, and we don't even think twice about it. We just use it and we think we know what it is, but we actually don't know what it is. We know what it does, but we don't know what it is. We don't know how it's created. And that's just a wild thing, man. So once you learn about it, your life changes, man. Your life changes forever. You can't stop thinking about it. You realize that this Bitcoin thing right here is amazing, and all the properties of it, the proof of work, the limited amount, the difficulty adjustment, the halving, the self-custody, private keys, public keys, the way that it works, everything. It's crazy. It's cool. And I'm still learning about it. And there's a long way to go too. You know, we have these things that we need to work on with Bitcoin. One of the things is fungibility, I would say. I don't know how we're going to fix that fungibility, but that's something, because everyone can see all the transactions. So yeah, they are the same, but they're not the same. So they are, they aren't. You know, it's nuanced. Each Bitcoin's the same, but humans can draw these lines. On the Bitcoin network, each Bitcoin might be the same. Or is it? I don't know. It has different transactions, you know? But humans draw these distinctions, and we make these things up. So like, oh, this bad person had that Bitcoin. That's blacklisted, you know? That's a slippery slope. We definitely don't want to go down that route, but you could see us doing that as humans. So that's one of the things, privacy, fungibility, that need to be worked on. And also DNS. We got Spaces protocol here, where we got these names here that just act as a Bitcoin public key, a Bitcoin address. So C3, F Society, Pirate, Torrent. You could send Bitcoin directly to that English word and send and receive Bitcoin just like that. You could sign things. You could sign a Nostr event. You can have a Nostr name. You could have a website pointing to this name. You could have some files. You know, so there's a bunch of stuff. It's just a protocol, a Bitcoin certificate authority. That's a big idea. So this is pretty exciting to me as well. Spaces protocol, if you're not familiar with it, check it out. You know, nobody owns it. It's a permissionless system. Everything happens on the Bitcoin blockchain. 1.5 total Bitcoin already burned. People, you burn these names. You don't buy them from people. Unless there is a marketplace though, where people post peer-to-peer. You can sell, or you can just give away your names here on this marketplace. But the original creation of the name. So first they have to be created into existence. And since nobody owns them, it's just a donation to the network where the Bitcoin gets burned to create these names. And people bid on these, and then they could claim them. You can see right now there's 2 unconfirmed bids on Torrent and Pirate in the mempool. You can check out the transaction. Cypherpunk got bid up as well. A couple transfers on Memory, SEC, and PJ. It's pretty cool. Hopefully this takes off, because for Bitcoin to gain adoption, we're definitely going to need some sort of DNS, where those long strings of characters for the Bitcoin addresses, you know, we use these addresses right here. Look at this thing, BC1, PJA, 0R. It's just too much. It's just too much. That's too much. Obviously, it's going to change. You know, we couldn't even use IP addresses for websites. That was too much. That was what, 6, 7, 8 characters or something? That was too much. Look at these Bitcoin addresses. That's way too much. It's just nobody can figure out a way to do it without centralized DNS, without HTTPS, without ICANN. You know, without all these centralized authorities. The internet has a lot of centralized authorities. And we're in this new age, you know, brought on by Bitcoin that allows us to decentralize important tools, important technologies that people can use. And Spaces Protocol is one of those things. Now, I know there's a lot of contention around putting JPEGs and things on Bitcoin, you know, embedding things on the Bitcoin blockchain. But Spaces Protocol has minimal on-chain footprint. It's 60 bytes approximately for a top level space and 30 bytes approximately for a subspace. So it's got all that in mind when it was designed to be light footprint on the Bitcoin blockchain. You could run it with any node, Core, Knots. And the thing, yeah, that's going on right now between Core and Knots. And Knots, I think they're upping theirs to 80 by default. It used to be 42 bytes, I think, which you could still use Spaces Protocol subspaces on a default Knots node. But I think I read somewhere, I don't know if it was a troll or if it's true, but they're upping it back to 83 bytes, which is cool. That's how I run my node, 83 bytes. Because some things are worth putting on Bitcoin. You know, you have this thing. I get both sides. I understand both sides. You got the one side is like, yo, Bitcoin's so great. Let's protect it. Let's not change it or put anything on it. Then you got the other side's like, yo, Bitcoin's so great. Let's use it for more shit. And there's a line there. There's a balance there. I'm definitely not in the 100% don't use Bitcoin at all. No op return, no data. And I'm definitely not on the other end like, yo, let's put a bunch of shit, JPEGs and stuff, 100,000 megabytes or whatever on Bitcoin, right? So I'm in neither one of the extremes. I'm not filters up, 0 bytes, you know, head in the sand crew, or let's spam with a bunch of nonsense. I'm not on either. I'm in the middle. Like, yo, 83 bytes is chill. 83 bytes seems reasonable. Bitcoin is extremely valuable. The block space is extremely valuable. Being able to send a message on there, being able to put stuff on there that can never be taken down, a message, something that will live on past your life as a human. That's powerful. Putting a will maybe on there. And of course, there's going to be some unsavory stuff that people put on there. Okay, well, that shouldn't stop progression of technology. You know, people could do bad things with guns, with knives, with cars, vehicles. People could do bad stuff with baseball bats. You know, and you don't say, oh, what could this be used for? These baseball bats. Well, somebody could smack you in the head with it. So we can't play baseball. No. All right. You just have to accept some of those things. So that's why I think a reasonable 83 bytes is good. Now, of course, you get into all this stuff where people could go straight to the miners. They can put stuff in. You get into this whole nonsense where you lose the plot. You lose sight of what we're doing here. Then you get pushed, unfortunately, into an extreme camp. Either everything's open and it's crazy, or it's totally shut and it's at 0 bytes. But I reject that framing. I don't think that's how it is. And personally, I think we should have just kept with the 83 bytes. You know, I haven't heard any positive reasoning why Core version 30 had to up it immensely, right? They could have just kept it the same. And I don't hear any good arguments why Knots should be set to 0. So both are dumb. I don't agree with either one. But that's not popular, you know. It's not sensationalism. People just love to be pissed at something. They love enemies. They don't want to have reason. Some people do, but it's not exciting to be reasonable, you know. And it's not that you're sitting on the fence and you can't make a decision. I can make a decision, just a reasonable decision. I think that Bitcoin block space is extremely valuable and it should be used for more things other than money. Now, it shouldn't be abused. And then that's the question, like, okay, well, who gets to decide? This is why we're all fighting. Everybody's fighting. Who gets to decide? I don't know. That's why I let all the nodes decide. Shit. Let all the nodes choose in your config file, choose what you want, dude. But then maybe that was a problem where people were saying that would cause some sort of issue. I don't know. I'm not getting too deep into it because you're going to have one side on the extreme and the other side on the extreme. And it pushes the people. It's like politics. I think it's just the internet, really. The internet is doing this to humans where it puts us in these silos, these long tubes that we can go super deep in. We go super deep, but we don't go wide. We don't go wide. We have our blinders on. We have these narrow thoughts and we go hard, deep down into these narrow thoughts. And then you just have a bunch of tubes that are super narrow, but super long. And people don't broadly mesh anymore. We get pushed into these camps, into these tubes. And that's just what we do. I don't know. I think the internet's doing that to us. All right. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you all for watching.